Cheers, guys. Epix 911, welcome to the Elitist Geek, and holy crap, what a difference a day makes. Just yesterday, in yesterday's video, I was talking about Lucky Palmer and the DRM situation that he kind of found himself in, and lo and behold, what does today bring? The end of Rift DRM measures? It looks to be that way. A rather stealthy update came out this morning, and the update notes make no mention of it. A later statement did, and I'm going to read that later statement for you guys here. Their statement reads, "We continually revise our entitlement and anti-piracy systems, and in the June update, we've removed the check for Rift hardware from the entitlement check. We won't use hardware checks as part of DRM on PC in the future," Oculus VR said. "We believe protecting developer content is critical to the long-term success of the VR industry, and we will continue to take steps in the future to ensure that VR developers can keep investing in groundbreaking new VR content." Wow, which is about as close as a mea culpa as you're probably going to get from them. But why? Well, the obvious is it's still super early in the game, and any ground that these guys cover marketing-wise has to be aggressive, and it's got to be positive. They can't have a huge negative cloud hanging over any of their marketing efforts at this point, because selling to us early adopters is critical. It's critical for a lot of reasons, and you didn't have to go far. Basically, everywhere you turned on the internet, whether it was subreddits, forums, on Oculus's own site, there was a lot of negative publicity and a lot of negative pressure being exerted on Rift to get rid of it. For those of you who aren't aware of what it did, essentially what it was a hardware check. And there's an author for an application, third-party application called Revive. And simply put, Revive allowed Vive users to play Rift games. Thus the little play on the name Revive, right? Well, to counter that, the folks at Oculus put in a hardware check. So essentially, if the program does not find an Oculus Rift attached to the system, it won't work. The game won't play. And there's ways around that, but it would be a constant battle between the developer and the code and any patch updates that get issued, meaning it could work in the morning and by the afternoon it stops working. This kind of constant merry-go-round. With this, we are now at a position where we can safely say, look, they backed off, Revive is going to work, and the author, instead of worrying about battling the draconian DRM measures, can worry about what? Making his code better, making the games load easier, the interfaces, and that's where you want a dev's prowess to kind of be focused in on. So what does this mean? Well, other than what I've just said in terms of it working, it means that they've kind of met Valve's take on this. So let's rewind a little bit. Gabe Newell has always had the stance that Steam VR was going to be open, right? Open not just to developers for the HTC Vive, but open for devs of the Oculus Rift as well. In fact, if you log on to Steam VR, you see lots of games for the Oculus Rift, not just for the HTC Vive, on their own platform. And that's the kind of success that made Steam what it is, because they never started at this just promoting and publishing their own games, right? Over a decade ago, we were asked to install one of the first versions of Steam for Half-Life 2. A little stealthy at first. A lot of us weren't sure about it, but we did that first install, and lo and behold, they kept themselves open. They published other people's games, and other people's games sat right alongside their own. And before we knew it, PC users were pretty much Steam users. you are hard-pressed to find a physical copy of a boxed PC game on the shelf in any store. And I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing, it's the reality. While the console folks literally waged a war this last generation about physical versus cloud media, PC users have just kind of quietly adopted it. And most of us use Steam, and most of us have no problem with Steam. So Gabe Newell's stance has always been one of kind of inclusiveness, as inclusive as you're going to get, let's face it, with a guy who swims in a pool of money, right? Now, what that means is, look, eventually there's going to be a loser. We've seen this play out time and time again, whether it's Atari versus Intellivision, like I was saying in a previous video, Beta versus VHS, Sega, Nintendo, etc. Someone is going to come out ahead and someone's going to come out behind. But what this will do is ensure that, you know what, these guys can stick around for a little bit longer. Because think about it, what's just around the corner? We've got Sony, right, with PlayStation VR, the Project Morpheus, rearing its head pretty soon. And it's going to be DRM. It's going to be very Sony-centric. And isn't it better to have healthy competitors sharing the PC landscape to do battle against Sony? In my opinion, yes. I think that's going to be a good thing. And I think it's going to help both in the long run. Even if one ultimately loses, it's going to ensure longevity. So I think this is a good thing. I think this is a healthy thing. And I know I'm going to take advantage of it. I've got the Rift coming, and I'll just quick update on my own situation. So I received a call from the escalation department in Seattle, and I live in the Vancouver, Canada area, so they're just 2-3 hours south of us here. And she was awesome on the phone. Put it this way, like I said yesterday, it should never have escalated to this point, but at least they're doing what the Tier 1 folks didn't. They're making me feel appreciated. Granted, you know, they're staring down the video, a negative video, but I feel better about my situation. I'm comfortable. I have a tracking number. I spoke to a few of you who still have issues, help you guys out so you can get that same support that I've been getting, and we can get back to just playing, right? And that's where I was going with this. This opens up the playing landscape for us. So if you're somebody who just has a Rift or just has a Vive, you know, and you don't have both like I'm going to have next week, this opens up the gaming landscape. This allows you to take an application like Revive and play cross-platform. Vice versa. You know, you're able to play Steam VR games if you've got a Rift. So it's healthy, it's good, and I can't wait to see where we go with this technology. Alright guys, that's it for this video. I just wanted to get it in. I'll have another video coming up tomorrow with additional news stuff that I was going to talk about tonight, but preempted by this, this awesome anti-DRM news. As always guys, cheers.